You probably need one anyways. All right, so distance formula. Does anybody want to take a crack at it? Anybody know what the distance formula is?
Where is this?
Go for it, Jesus.
Y equals MC squared.
Okay, so this was said, but it's all right. On the counter right there, they are printed off.
Distance. Formula for distance. Points on a graph.
Okay, distance formula.
No, it has X and Y in it. X, Y, plus B. Oh, distance equals the square root of X plus Y. X squared minus Y squared. Oh, that one. Squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared.
Oh, minus Y1 squared. Oh man, I am smart. You're so smart, man. What did I say?
Man, this pen has just been terrible today. Okay, so the distance formula, okay, reads as such. D stands for
Distance.
Oh my gosh.
distance. Okay, equals the square root of the factor x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, so you are going to be given points, okay, on a coordinate plane. Those points are consisting of one x value and one y value. Okay, the x value comes first, y value comes second. Okay, so let's look at number one, and I'll just kind of walk you through how this distance formula is going to be utilized. So we have 2 points right here. Now what we're looking for is the distance of what?
The distance between 2 points on a graph?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the distance between 2 points. Okay, so the point that we have to start right here is a value of what?
3, negative 5.
It's going to be
Or is it
negative 5, 3.
Oh yeah, that is true. I forgot.
Okay, we will call this A. Okay, so point A is negative 5, 3. Point B is going to be negative 2. There you go. Negative 2, negative 3. Okay. Before you substitute values into the formula, it's important for you to do what first? After you've done this.
Wait, what?
I'll ask one more time. You don't know this, so I'm just seeing if we can just theorize for a second. Okay. You've gotten your points down. Now, before you put these values into the formula, what do you need to be sure to do? Let's look at the formula. Okay.
Which one's X? Which one is 1 and which one's 2?
Which one's 1 and which one's 2? Okay, that's kind of what we have to figure out. Okay, so does it matter? Like I could make A the 1s, I could make B the 2s. Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, I could make B the 1s and A the 2s. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll just say that A is going to be the 1s, B is going to be the 2s. Okay, now you won't have to write all this out for every problem, but just for the first one, I think it's important to make sure that you know that stuff you're supposed to do. Okay, so we've got D equals the square root of x2 minus x1. Okay, which number is going to be x2?
Negative 2.
Okay, so for this first problem, let's all make negative 2 our x2. Okay, that's our first value in the point B right here. Okay, so negative 2 minus the other x value, which is going to be our 1 of negative 5.
Is it negative minus negative adding them?
Okay? In between, you need to put an addition sign. The most commonly missed thing about this last year was geometry students forgetting to make sure that you have the exponent. You've got to square it. Okay? You got to square it. No, actually, it needs to be squared. Now, what's your y2? Negative 3 minus. And then, wrong color, squared. Okay, so now from this point, once you get it in, it's really just a matter of, can you add or subtract positive and negative numbers together correctly? Okay, in the terms of mathematics, it's a simple task, but it trips a lot of us up. Okay, so you just got to be really careful when you're combining them together. So I've got d equals still the square root. Okay, now before I do the exponent, okay, before I square them, PEMDAS says I have to simplify stuff inside the parentheses first. Okay, so what is negative 2 minus a negative 5? Okay, minus a negative is always a plus plus because it makes it easier for my brain to understand. So negative 2 plus 5 is going to be 3, still squared, plus
0 squared.
negative 3 minus 3 is 0 squared. Okay, I'm going to continue over here. You're welcome to continue wherever you need to. I'm trying to write a little bigger so that you can see it clearly. So, square root of, what's 3 squared?
8. 9.
What's 0 squared? 0. Okay, what is the square root of 9? 3.
How do you square root?
Yeah, let me show you. Prime factorization. What's a prime number you can divide 9 by? 3. What's a prime number you can divide 3 by? 3. Okay, you have a pair of 3s, which means the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so when you're doing the square root, y'all haven't, have y'all seen this before? Prime factorization?
We probably thought
Yeah, we probably
you have
touched
two
on
numbers,
it.
the same number, and you put them together to get that number. That's how it's like division or deputy the same number.
Here's what I can do for you guys is we'll do a real quick lesson sometime in the next couple weeks where y'all can just get some practice with prime factorization because you really need to know how to do it with square roots and with cube roots. If we haven't talked about it before, that's just fine. I just need to make note of that. Okay, no problem. So anyway, that's how you prime factorize. So distance formula should be super fun since you have to take the square root every time. Do we want to do? Okay, so here's what I can do. Let's just do a couple of square root simplifications just to make sure that we're comfortable with it. So under where it says examples, okay, that's where I'm going to kind of move to. On this left-hand side, this big open space right here, okay? Let's do the square root of, sure, 64, okay? So when you're taking the square root, what you're trying to do is pull out pairs of numbers, okay? And when I say pairs of numbers, I'm saying prime pairs. So what's a prime number?
8.
No, but those are great guesses. B divided by,
The same number.
yeah.
By
So
1, 0,
y'all are like, the sharks are circling, okay? Prime number can only be divided by
1, 3.
itself and 1, okay? So the numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, so on. Okay, those are all prime numbers because they can only be evenly divided by themselves or 1. Okay, so those are the numbers that we're going to try and divide out of this big number until we can whittle it all the way down to 1. Okay, so this is just called prime factorization. So what's a prime number I can divide 64 by? 2. Okay, if you don't know, if it's an even number, do 2. Okay, if you don't know and it's a number that ends in 5, do 5. Okay, and that'll get you started at least. So what's 64 divided by 2? Okay, now we just keep doing this. What's a prime number you can divide 32 by? 2. What's a prime number you can divide 16 by? 2. So just for future reference, 4 can't count because 4 can be divided by 4 and 1, but also by 2. Okay, so if you can ever add one more number to what it can be divided by, it's not a prime number. Okay, it's a
Normal number.
composite number. That's all right. It's all right. Compost number, yes. Okay, 8 can be divided by 2, which will give you 4, which can be divided by 2, which will give you 2, which can be divided by 2. Okay, so I said the goal is to get down to a 1. Okay, once we get down to the 1, this is where you're going to start pairing up numbers. Okay, so how many pairs of 2s do you have? You're going to go and group them together. Okay, you have 3 pairs, not 6 pairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 3 pairs. So I have a 2, a 2, and a 2. Okay, once you pair them up, you can kind of smush them together. So how many 2s do I now have? 3. Multiply them together. 2 times 2 times 2. So the square root of 64 is 8. Okay. Now using 64 is a good number to use because 64 is a perfect square. Because we all know our multiplication facts, and if I asked you what's 8 times 8, you could tell me, right? So that's where all these perfect squares come from. We've got 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So you go 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, okay, all the way up. You can go 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, and just keep going, okay? So let's do another one. Was this confusing, the prime factorization part of it? Okay, so let's pick a different number. We're going to do 50. Y'all trying to make it real complicated. It's not. It won't come out evenly. So this one's a fun one.
Let's see this.
Okay, so you're going to, and this is where if you get to know your calculators real well, maybe you've seen in the mode section where you can select classic or math print. You good, Dave? Okay, yeah. And if you go math print, it'll actually give you the answer in radical form, which is what I want right here. But here, let me show you.
It's 7 point something.
Okay. What is a prime number you can divide 50 by?
2.
Either of those will work, but we'll just start with 2, which gives us 25, which can be divided by 5, which can be divided by. We want to get it down to. We just want to get it down to 1. No matter what, you should be able to get it down to 1 because you can always divide that last number by itself. Okay. So, how many pairs do we have?
3, 2, 1.
We have 1 pair of 5s. Okay. Now, when we did the pairs up here, okay, we had multiple 1s, so we had to multiply them together. But let's say we just had 1 left over, then it's just by itself. And you don't have to combine it with anything. Did our answer on this first one go underneath a radical or not? No, because we're pulling them out. Okay, so this 5 will not go underneath a radical. What number does not have a pair, though? 2. The 2. anything that doesn't have a pair, you have to multiply back together. In this instance, it's just a 2 and a 1, which is going to be 2 times 1 is 2. Mm-hmm. And that is going to go back underneath the radical. So the square root of 50 is actually 5 square roots of 2.
That's crazy.
Insane. And this is the exact answer, okay? Because if you got a decimal of any kind and you rounded, it would be an approximation, okay? This is the exact right answer.
That's crazy.
Okay, I want you to do one by yourself. I know this is well, maybe it seems tedious to you, but hopefully it doesn't. Let's do square root of
103. Yeah, let's do 103.
No,
That sounds
not what
fun.
she said.
103, I think, is a prime number.
Oh.
So that's going to be tough to do.
90. 90 is not a prime
90. Oh, okay.
All right, try 90 on your own.
I don't have that space.
Yeah, just kind of do it wherever. If you need to just do it on a separate piece of paper, you can.
I can do it on Here, let me show you how to do that. No, let me do. Does it matter which way you do it?
As far as the order, because you'll end up with the same amount of numbers every time. So, but make sure you only do it by prime numbers. So, like 10 wouldn't work. 3. Mm-hmm. So 9 can't be used for this purpose because 9 can be divided by 1, 3, and 9. So you want to pick number exactly. There you go.
My fingers slippery. They're slippery, man. You know
And
it.
we still don't. So what you're looking at is
Jesus, I hate you.
Jesus. Why does he hate you?
come on. There we go. So we've got these numbers, Claire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll just say through 7. Okay. The ones on here that are guys, there's just too much going on. All right. The numbers that are prime are these right here. Okay. The reason those are prime is because if I wanted to divide them by anything, the only even number, so when I say even number, I'm saying a whole number, okay, that I could divide this by is 1 or itself. So I could only divide 2 by 2. Only divide 3 by 3. Now the reason 4 doesn't work is because I can divide 4 by 4, but I can also divide it by 2 evenly. Okay, so I could divide it by 2. 5, I can only do 5. 6 is not because I can do 3 or 2, right? Okay, so that's the only difference. Okay, yeah, of course. Years of confusion fixed. Okay, and I'm sure it'll never leave your brain, right, Claire? Okay, so what's up? Say it one more time.
Are you okay?
So like that one.
Are you having
No. Now see if you can figure out right now.
Yes. How would you do it if you have two numbers that aren't the same?
Oh, because like part of mine.
And now we go.
Show me my trick. It's okay. Here, Vincent, when you redo it, let your thumbs up a little bit. Yes.
So
Yes. I'm not wrong. Don't let him up a lot. Let him be.
you're like pushing.
But I'm not though. Because I did
So you have the 5s right here.
Oh, Mr. Bennett. Vincent, let me show you my
Okay. So just so I can make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. I had 90. The process that I went through was I took out 2 first. That gave me 45. Then divided by 3 gave me 15. Divided by 3 again, which gave me 5. Then divided by 5 to give me the 1 at the end. Okay. Now I have a pair right here. Okay. A very common misstep that I see right here is that you multiply these together. Don't multiply the pairs together. Okay. That's just a 3. Now, if I had another pair of 3s, you would multiply those 3s together, okay? But since there's only one pair of 3s, it's just a 3. 3 will go on the outside of the radical. It's okay. You're good. Just breathe, though. You don't need the air compressor. You don't have a pair of 2s. You don't have a pair of 5s. So what do you do with the extras? Multiply them back together, and that'll go back inside the radical, okay? So the square root of 90 is 3 square roots of 10.
Okay.
Yes. On Archimedes.
You made the Archimedes speech?
You what?
You made the Archimedes speech?
He is one of the OG mathers, yes. Okay.
Mathematician.
Math magicians.
I was a math magician.
Y'all are going to have fun trying to track down the math magicians in a couple weeks. Crime scene investigation. Okay. Number two. Let's flip back to the notes now, okay? You got your crash course in finding the square roots, right, Gage? Okay. Now you'll be able to do it every time, okay? Now we're going to flip back to distance formula, okay? So number 2 says find AB given that A is point -4, 1, and point B is a value of 3, -1. Now just for this problem specifically, I'm going to tell you that this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2, okay? Refer back to your formula. I would like to see you fill out the formula correctly.
So the A's are 1, 2, and B's.
Okay, sometimes we try hard.
So the A already is.
Be a try hard, Gabe. You what?
No. A is 1. Yeah, Vincent. Use your legs. Well, you have them for a reason, Vincent. Why are you going to do it? You're just encouraging.
Because I'm a good person.
Why do you have to be a good person?
Because good people are good people.
All right. Good job.
I'm gonna go do everything.
Me? Why?
You don't have to.
All right, good.
You don't have to make it.
I like it. I'm not saying that you have to make characters. Wait, why does there have to be a main character? All right, what are we saying?
What do you mean? How do you do this? That are -4. Oh yeah. You can use math.
You don't even. You're using it right now.
Personally, I don't know what you're yapping about.
I'm not yapping.
23.
Is this correct or am I just being dumb?
Square root of 23 is the square root of 23.
Yeah, there you go.
This distance not equal to square root of 5.
What?
It'd be 5.
That's crazy.
So it'll just
You
be
can't
5.
divide by,
Square root of 5 is 5.
You forgot a step. Check your formula again. And that's, Jesus, that's why I pointed it out, because it's really easy to miss.
Do we need to show you?
No, well, you just check it once I put it up here.
oh my gosh, Vincent.
Vincent,
We got water all over
see
my
it.
paper. Yes. No. Go away. Shut up. No. Shut up.
I got Dave as your boyfriend.
Yeah, me too.
No. I can get up.
Negative one.
I'm gonna wear yellow.
Minus.
And I'm gonna wear
Bro.
red. And this a black shoes. I have no red shoes. I do have red shoes. And
Bro, you're the person that I hate.
I lost
these
two.
ain't nobody gonna punch
Do you
me.
think I care?
I can't be no. I'm literally wearing that.
Exactly. And why should I care?
Black and blue. Black and blue.
Bro,
I just. It'll help me. It'll help me in the future if I have to. Like, Thunder's mask
okay,
is
hold on.
like a
Send
rare
your card,
person.
your card.
I'm not a rare. Am I?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Leave it for that. Back. Now show me what you're doing.
But I guess I'm extra.
I think I can do this shit, but I'm gonna try it.
Wait, so what's the next?
This could work, or it's not.
It's not gonna work. Wear it.
Not be
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Square root of -1. What's the square root of -1?
So the square root, 7
How about the
squared
square root of
is
-1?
7.
The square root of -1, isn't that an imaginary number?
Okay, so squaring a number is just that number times its sucks. Haven't done this. I've seen. Oh, I was right.
Oh, there's not right about that.
Okay, there's number 2 up on the board for you so you can check.
Bro,
Is 53 a
Yeah,
prime number?
just look up whenever you're ready.
Is 53 a prime number?
Why do you insist on this?
I
Oh,
thought
I
I
tried
was
to
like,
show it to
bro.
me. I wasn't done yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we went from negative to positive.
Because it's a negative pi. Negative times negative is a positive.
Yes, but where's the other now?
Are you talking about right here? So, because -1 minus 1 ended up being a -2, I'm squaring that whole thing. Yeah, so that makes it -2 times -2.
I could.
Wait.
Okay, now for geometry purposes, okay, they won't always want your answer in radical form. It's a really crazy, easy way to figure out what the like rounded decimal number is. Use a calculator. Okay, so just make sure you can identify where your square root button is on the calculator, and you would just punch that in. Okay. Those, I mean, yeah, but one of those, anywhere between like probably 50 and $75.
I got it right. Except for the fact that I put 3 instead of 1, and so I had to change that. And but other than that, I did it right. It's actually easy for me.
All right,
Why do you keep saying that? I hate it.
try number 3.
Is there a certain number that should be first and second? Everything. You're wrong. No. Does a certain number need to say one first and second? Or no?
Great question. So it's up to you. You just need to make sure that the ones are the same point.
By mouthing it.
But which ones you make which doesn't matter.
Okay. That's implying
Right
the
there.
idea.
So with this one,
You know what you've been saying the past hour we've been in class.
you have to change.
We haven't been in class now, man.
You know what you said because you said it. Yes.
We were in class 56
Maybe
minutes.
for this stuff, it might just be.
Close enough.
Wait, so why do you like making people laugh?
But
Yo, I took the argument for 1 second, and y'all instantly had something to say about me.
I can figure it out. Okay.
Stop raising your eyes.
Because yours is set up to give the answer
What
in
did I
radical
just
form.
tell you?
So like if you put in the square root of 53, your calculator is just going to tell you square root of 53 is the answer. Okay, so
Are we doing 3 now?
Yeah.
Alright. That's crazy.
So when you're subtracting, so because I'm subtracting, he's okay, but then I'm subtracting a negative number. So when I take away a number, I'm just subtracting a positive. But when I'm subtracting a negative
I hate you, Vincent.
I didn't even say anything.
I heard you say it though.
I didn't say anything.
I didn't say I didn't want you to say it to me. I said I didn't want you to
something
say
of
it.
value, okay? But when I'm taking away something of negative value,
Then
we're actually
well, I won't care because I wouldn't hear it.
So that's why rule of thumb, you see subtract the negative.
I heard that, Vincent.
I didn't even
Say anything. I know.
No, I did not.
But technically, we're
Yes, you did. I
Well,
did.
that sounds like exactly what you say.
I said you did. Graham did it.
Huh? You gotta text us. Huh?
You can type it in like this.
It said something about.
I know you did.
No, I thought you said something about your email.
Yes. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
So you can make it look like
You made me touch it. It's not even my fault that this. No, it's just abuse. I'm gonna call Miss Wishler.
for me, my brain always
Wishler, and it's Wolf. Actually,
Oh yeah, your middle name is Wolf. I forgot about that.
According to my calculations, you're gonna lose to me in the mile run. In the mile run today.
According to my
Sure.
calculation, sure. According to my calculation,
Who won
you
in the 3
cannot
mile?
beat me in a mile run whatsoever.
Who beat you in the 3 mile run?
You did because I died and we never really ran a 3 mile before.
Bro, he's
Neither have I.
he has like the lowest endurance ever. I can run faster than him like all well after a
Did you
little
stop?
No, I never stopped.
I didn't think so. I was just like,
so that'll
I had to put my shirt up.
I had to stop though. It was not due to my choices.
Yes, you could have just kept on going. What? You just kept your legs.
Huh? Stop it.
That's it with your model.
Hey, Susie has your water bottle. Beat him up.
Hey, she's beautiful.
That sounds right.
Dog him in the head.
I'm gonna put it up here.
I'm gonna need help with the homework from what?
Okay.
What?
Song.
Huh?
D equals D.
What? I was pointing. I was freaking pointing. Give it. Give it. This formula is
Long?
not as hard as I thought.
It's just long and complex.
It's actually pretty simple, except for when you miss with the number and it comes out. Yeah, not the 49. But to 89.
You get 89. Did you forget to square?
No, I still put 8 instead of 18. Oh my god. Because you say
A full order of
I did
magnitude.
do 18, but this whole day, every time you see me, you said it. When you can't read your own handwriting.
You're very obsessed. Everything.
You are doing
Now we have to do midpoint. Now we have to move to midpoint. Concept on this, and now we have to move to midpoint.
Graham, isn't it
I want you to say something else besides that. Alright.
Jay, no.
Say something different now. And then we're not related to love baby or like
You love their grades? Hey, Sue. Your mom's trying to find out.
Never know. Yeah. It's 320. Yeah. Never met her. You've seen her. You've never met her. No, Mr. Bennett, it's 349.
So sorry. Yeah. Okay, guys, we need to move on.
Yes, I'm ready to move on.
I can't believe that you were together.
Okay, there's your solution. You can leave it in radical form, okay? Unless otherwise specified. Listen, please. As we, guys, I am trying to talk.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
In the future, okay, on standardized tests, you will just need to know that if the answer that you got is the square root of 349, okay, but all your answer choices are decimals, you just need to be able to go into your calculator and punch in square root 349, and then it'll give it to you, okay? So just know that you can see that answer in a couple different ways. My calculator says it's about 18.68. Okay, so those are both the same number. Don't worry about it, but just make sure it's something that you recognize. Yes. Yeah. So if you've got the TI 30XS, okay, it's the button right next to the 7. Okay, on the left, you've got to hit second first. So second, and then that X squared button will pop up the radical for you. Then you just punch in whatever number you need and hit enter. It should give it to you. If it gives it to you in radical form, yeah, so if it gives it to you in radical form, you need to go to mode.
No.
And then make sure that it's on classic and not math print.
Where?
Okay.
It is on classic, but it still gave me that.
So if it's still messing up because these calculators are beautifully not perfect, you can just do a hard reset on the calculator.
How do I reset?
You reset by doing second, 0, 2, and that's it.
0, 2.
And then it should say memory clear.
Memory clear.
Okay.
Did you want to turn it off?
You don't have to. Nope. All right, guys, we got to do midpoint. I intended for y'all to have more time to work on your homework, but the prime factorization thing I did not foresee. So, midpoint formula. What do we think the midpoint formula is going to be talking about?
The formula of the midpoint.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Why didn't you tell me? You said, never mind.
Okay, the midpoint formula will be up there as soon as I can figure out where I set my pen. There it is. Okay. Still a measurement of distance. Okay, but this time we're not looking for distance necessarily. We are looking for a point. So just for the sake of writing out the formula, we'll put MP equals. You're going to love this. Oh, dear.
Oh, whoa. That's how big. Yeah, we have to draw that.
Because you have jeans on.
You should do it with an 18 meter.
Okay, here is the midpoint formula. So let me just talk you through what this formula is, because when you're just looking at it, it seems a bit odd. You have you kind of have two separate formulas that you're using right here, okay? One for X, one for Y. When you do midpoint formula, your answer will be a point, okay? So when given values, like if we look down here at number 4, we're given 2 points. Now instead of finding the length of that entire distance between 2 points, now we're looking for what point would be directly in the center, okay? So you would still assign your 1s and your 2s, or vice versa, whichever you choose, okay? And then you will go and plug them in, but you're not combining them together. They are now forming a point, which is why you have this big parentheses with a comma. In the parentheses, your final answer will be whatever you get for X and whatever you get for Y. Okay, yeah.
Can you just do the distance formula and then divide by 2? no, wait. The distance formula has some minus on it.
Confusion. You're saying do the distance formula and then divide that all by 2?
No, divide the what you get out of it by 2.
You could do that. That'd be a way longer than doing this, though. Yeah. If you were doing the whole distance formula and then dividing it by 2, I think it would be longer. It might work. I haven't tried that before.
Well, I was just saying that because I feel like it would be easier to learn the
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. So let's look at number 4. Okay. I'm going to say these are my 1s. These are my 2s. So the midpoint is going to be x1 plus x2 divided by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, so I'm going to just that down a little bit. Which is going to make, so my x1 can be 7 plus 9 over 2. And then you've got y1, which is negative 5, plus negative 1 over 2. And now you're just simplifying. Okay, so you've got 7 plus 9, which is going to be 16 over 2. And then negative 5 plus negative 1 is going to be a negative 6 over 2. Okay, and now your last simplification is just to simplify that fraction if you can. 16 over 2 is going to be 8. And negative 6 over 2 will be a negative 3.
That's actually a lot.
Yeah, this one, in my opinion, is easier than the distance one. Yeah.
Is this one you can also choose which one is one?
Oh,
Yep.
I'm not a dummy, and I am not
Go to your number
a
5 on your own.
Bro, it's gonna hurt so bad.
Okay, I would like for you to do number 5 on your own. So here's what I'm going to say. Okay, if you can give me focus for the next, 15 to 20 solid minutes, I am not going to require you to do this homework for homework. Okay, because I had to put in the prime factorization stuff that I didn't plan on. So give me time to get through the notes, please. Give me your focus, and you won't have homework tonight. But if you piss me off, I will give you homework. Okay, the state of Oklahoma gives me the right gauge. Okay, do number 5 on your own, please. You know, Jesus, I think a teacher gave a student a mark a couple weeks ago for that.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Did they do it on purpose? Like,
I don't know.
they just hear it. And
The
like,
student, did they do it on purpose? I don't think so. But. When we get all done. Huh? Okay, so there's the solution. There is the answer. Point -2, 0. Okay. Something I try to impress upon my middle school math students is don't freak out when you see 0. As you move forward in your math career, 0 is as valid an answer as anything else. For some reason, in arithmetic, anytime you get an answer as 0, you feel like you did something wrong. But not in this case. So, any questions on midpoint so far? Okay. Let's go to the back. Yep.
Is a point in the middle?
Is a point in the middle, or is the point in the middle?
A point.
Is a point in the middle? Yes, that point. -2, 0. It's right in the middle of those first 2 points.
Oh,
Well,
that's
you don't
gonna
have
be
to
an
yet.
Not yet. I was like, oh, that's probably going to be an assignment.
It will be. Yeah, very soon. Okay. Now the fun stuff. So now we are kind of now we're getting into the kind of discovery part of it. Okay. What I just gave you was the formula, and then how to put in information to figure out what the answer is. Okay. Now you're going to get either the answer or the correct point, and you have to find the missing values. Okay. So now we're bringing in some algebra. So you're going to find the coordinates of A if M is a value of -1, 2, okay, and that is the midpoint of AB, and B has the coordinates of 3, -5. Okay, so what they're giving us is a line. We'll pretend that that's a straight line. Okay, they are giving us a line of AB, and we have a midpoint. Okay, what values do we know?
B and M.
Yeah, we know the midpoint is -1, 2, and we know that B is 3, -5. Okay, so which formula are we going to use?
MP.
Yeah, the midpoint. Okay, so the way that I would start this is the same way I would start any algebra problem. Okay, write out the formula first, then plug stuff in. So our formula is going to be the x1 plus x2 over 2, and then the y is the same format. Okay, so what you have to decide before we start plugging stuff in is, what do you want to make B? Do you want to make B the 1s or the 2s? We can do the 2s, that's fine. Okay, so which pieces of information do we not have?
X1 and Y1.
So now those little numbers on the bottom, okay, those are called subscripts. All those do are they're like labels. Okay, they're saying this is this X, this is this X. Once you replace one of those X's, and so now we only have one X, you don't necessarily need the subscript anymore. So we've got X plus, what was our X2?
3.
Divided by 2. And then we are missing our Y1 and adding -5.
Okay, so that would be X, that would be Y. So -1. What plus 3 divided by 2 is -1.
Write it down, because I think you maybe just talked it out the right way.
I know what to do,
Okay,
but I always do this. It's how I usually do it. Is I guess numbers for the variables, and depending on what the answer I get is, I know it's wrong, but whether it's higher or lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you just use
Can I guess?
Like, oh man, what do we call it? So there's actually, you're gonna love factoring then, because when we do factoring, there's actually a method that's just called like guess, and so you're just guessing which number goes in that spot, and then you try and work it out.
What I do is like I look at it and I see which number will add up to well, if it's like an addition problem, but I'll see which number would I would work it out in my head and see if that number would actually work.
Yep.
And then I put it.
Nice. Yep. That works. That's great. All right. So this is the part that anytime we come back to midpoint formula, the geometry students would kind of forget that this is how you needed to do it. Okay. So once you get it set up like this, and you have these missing values, okay, we're only working with one variable. Okay. You're not going to try and solve both of these at the same time. That's not going to work because we've got an x over here and we've got a y over here. Okay. So what you're going to do is kind of separate them out into two separate little problems. So you're going to take your x, and I moved it over here. Why did I set it equal to -1?
Because it's gonna equal -1.
Because we already have our midpoint, right? Our midpoint, which is what we were searching for when we learned the formula first, we already have it. So I'm setting the x portion of that formula equal to the x value of the midpoint. Okay? Which also means that you're going to set the y portion equal to what? Good. Now you are solving for x on the left and solving for y on the right. Okay. So how's everybody feeling confidence-wise with their algebra?
Very good.
Okay, so I would like to just talk through these if that's okay. If you already know how to do this, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but I would just like to give this to everybody. Okay. So for this first portion, okay, I'll stay to the left of that vertical bar. To get rid of the denominator, which is what you need to do first, you can always multiply by the denominator. Okay. In algebra, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. That's going to make these 2's cancel out and give you x plus 3 on the right side and give us -2 on the left. Now you have one more step to find your x value, and that is to undo or find the inverse operation. What is being done to x? Added by 3. So what's the opposite of that? Subtract by 3. I'm going to subtract by 3 on both sides, which is going to be -5 when you combine those together, equals, we'll bring the x down, give you x, 3's cancel out. Okay, so you did that portion to find your x part of the point. Now you try and go through and finish the y.
Well, no, I didn't get the y without getting the y.
Oh, okay. I see.
I wrote number 6 on number 7. I'm just gonna drew an arrow.
Okay.
4 divided by 2. Oh, you solved it. I'm solving for
Do we just always wait?
the y.
Do we just always multiply by 2?
I'm solving for it. I just got 28. I just got 4. I didn't actually solve it. What divided by 2? What divided by 2 is 2. And it is actually 4.
So, yeah, what I'll say
Right,
is,
but
that's
I'm
fine.
saying-
I'm not saying that. When we get some more complicated numbers.
Well, 2 is always going to be the denominator.
Okay. But I love the intuitive.
I know.
Try it. I know. I'm the one that wrote that up. Yeah. Good. I make good enchiladas.
If you take out that
Hey, Susan. That's wrong.
It's not wrong.
That's wrong to me. I think.
So,
Guys, I found Y.
Well, oh, I thought that was
Y is
negative.
9. Y is 9,
the board
guys.
says I'm right.
I put that as negative. I put that as negative.
Okay, so your final answer. Now this is kind of the first instance where I can explain my grading system. Okay, because I do standards grading, a 4 is a perfect. Okay, if you just left it right here, that's a 3.5. Okay, because it's asking for the coordinates, which means your answer needs to be written as -5, 9. Okay, put them back into the point, or the coordinate, the ordered pair. Okay, any of those. Insane. Okay. Here is what I would like for you to do. Is I'll scroll back up to number 6 if you need it. I just need to, if this would ever move. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna say. We're just pretty much out of time. So here's what I'm gonna say: is keep these notes with you. I think I would still like for us to do a couple of them on there, but we do have the homework sheet, so I think we will just say that the notes are good. We will move to the homework sheet. We might do one more problem on the notes, but just keep them together. When you get here on, what is today, Thursday? When you get here on Monday, this is where we'll pick up, okay?
Yes, sir.
Can you help me with the homework
Yep.
from last class?
What?
Imagine if Brown was white.
Huh?
Mr. Betty, may I use the restroom? No.
Guys, before you put everything away, make sure you have out your agenda, okay? Because we're a couple minutes away from you checking your spec board, okay?
Oh, I left mine.
Check in.
I didn't get one.
If we need one on campus, okay?
Oh, there's a bat? Oh!
So, basically, okay, first thing, we have the link to that whole.
What did I do Monday?
Okay, so it's giving you the link to this whole line. Here's what we need to find. It's telling you the measurement from LM, or from L to M, 22, the measurement from M to N, 15.
Today's Thursday, right? Well,
Mr. Banks, I don't know how to do
With this, so would this be added like to the, so,
Or the
I don't get to it. Oh, so I just do that all through the rest of the
The only difference is those are the only ones that you're going to be given.
What?
So it's not
Just an exercise.
but it's asking you to utilize segment addition stuff.
yeah, because we did like trail walking and stuff, right?
So try and set that one up.
Okay.
Yes.
This isn't algebra, this is geometry.
All right, guys, it is 3:50. So if you would make sure that you have your agendas out, okay? Mark your respect goals. How's everybody doing on them?
I don't know what a respectful goal is. If I respectful, would just be respectful.
Have you were you on class? Oh, on class. Okay. Did you write your agenda for every class? See, that's why some of these are in here to be like, man, I just didn't do anything today. But if you were on time with every class, good. Respecting my teacher's time. Respecting myself.
I just write, I will be organized for every class.
I'll make more copies.
Wait, I don't have
else can I afford?
Hey, you were in the bathroom for like 7 hours.
I know, I just like I'll be organized. Hey, what's today? It's Thursday, that means tomorrow's Friday.
No, Harper.
Tomorrow's Saturday, Harper.
You just said that.
Oh,
Huh? What?
I can take you around.
Huh?
Bram, why are you honking?
Huh?
It sounds like you're honking.
Huh?
Huh?
Not even Bennett.
Hmm?